You're still watching Newslink with myself, Mfundo Mabalane. Now, at least 59 people have died in KwaZulu-Natal as floods continue to wreak havoc in the province. Homes, cars, roads and bridges have been damaged. President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to visit the province this morning. eNCA's Pamandla Goke is covering that story for us and joins us now. Pamandla, we caught sight of Police Minister Bheki Cele just a few moments ago. I know he didn't want to engage with the media as yet, but they themselves here will be very critical in assisting with the response.
Indeed, not only that, but also that tells you that security forces are on high alert. Yesterday we saw people looting. You know, it's a tragedy. During this disaster, people are looting. And remember, KwaZulu-Natal is still trying to recover from the 2021 July unrest. So the Police Minister General Bheki Cele is here, National Commissioner General Fani Masemula is here, and those are police's top brass who are really out and about in KwaZulu-Natal trying to assess the damage. And also police will be required to assist with the response. But I guess most importantly is to put police and security forces on high alert for any eventuality, particularly the issue of looting. General Ntatla Mkhwanazi is the police commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal. Ndonga, thank you very much for your time. Talk to us about your police and security forces being on high alert. Yesterday, people were looting and you were chasing them.
Yeah, no, thanks, Pamandla. No, I can indicate that we were dealing with a state of disaster. So within the police, we are coordinating, also working with disaster management and all other agencies, participating in rescue efforts. As we can imagine, if there's any dead body, it needs the police to process that scene. So we really had to run around, especially in this district of eThekwini, to try and deal with all these bodies that have been picked up. It's quite a big number in this district of eThekwini, way more than what the media is reporting currently. But we're going to make it official that. So the primary focus of the South African Police Service was to rescue those that were trapped, and I'm sure you heard about the story of the kids that were trapped in the school. So we had to put all efforts to make sure that we provide rescue for those and put them in a place of safety. And unfortunately, our citizens, some of them, they took an opportunity of being excited when they see a lot of damages caused by water, especially within the Spingo in those areas. There are a lot of container yards that are that are positioned in those areas, and majority of them are empty, and which makes it easy for those containers when there's floods like this to fall. So majority of them, they fell and they were washed away, and you've got containers that are sitting on freeways and any other places. So some of the locals, then they started going across, going to help themselves with whatever they can find in the containers. Majority of them, like I said, they were empty. They didn't even know that those containers are empty. So they would swim the rest of their life to get there. So, but we were able to respond to those incidents. As part of our security plan, working with our partners from the security cluster as well as security companies, and I must emphasize, we've always been having a plan that if there's any incident of instability, that's how quickly we're going to respond to it. So I can safely report that all those forces and all those security companies that we work with, they all reacted to our call yesterday, and we made sure that we secure all the strategic points that we're supposed to secure in order to avoid any looting that might happen. So there was a sporadic incident that happened yesterday, which was quickly put under control. But we're still busy with securing of every other area that we can in this district. We as I said, it happened yesterday, the whole night, and since this morning until now, there's no incident that's happening that is related to looting or something like that.
Is KwaZulu-Natal safe, and the people of KwaZulu-Natal, are they safe during this tragedy?
Yeah, you are safe. They are safe. As soon as we clear, I'm sure when government come on board and they do a lot of cleaning up, and the whole province will be back into normal again. But at this present moment, there's a lot of damages. I mean, we've got a whole tanker at the beachfront, the truck, the tanker that is washed on the river into the beachfront, sitting on the sand there. So there's a lot of cleaning up that still needs to be done.
And it doesn't help that the road infrastructure and network is badly damaged. Your police officers are unable to reach far-flung areas. I know the concentration is in eThekwini for now, the provincial economic hub, but iLembe district, Umzinyati district, Umkungundlovu and Upu, that's where rural people need help, and that's where your police members are struggling with accessing roads.
Yeah, well, for security purposes, it's always going to remain a challenge, to be everywhere at any time. But I must say that the rain in KZN, in the main, it affected this district where we are, and the Ilembe district next door. The other district, the rain, yes, was there, but not to the extent that we have here. So we are still able to drive and deliver the service as we're supposed to in many parts of our province.
Are you asking for additional support and backup from the National Department of Police? Police Minister Pedicale is here. Your National Commissioner General Fane Masemula is also here. Are they giving you additional human and other resources?
Yeah, certainly there's quite a number of additional resources that has came down. We've got air support that is already here. A lot of other members that are also coming down to assist us with the rescue operations, as well as just to support our members, because as is, there's very limited number of mortuary vans that are out there. So police having to play a role of transporting these bodies from the crime scenes to mortuaries, because there's just not enough. So we definitely needed more resources from national, and there are a lot of members that have been deployed that are coming to help us. Some of them will be landing today, about 300 of those members will be arriving today to help us. So we are getting a lot of support from national as well.
You are mentioning mortuary vans. I don't want to sound alarmist, but it's not looking good on the ground with more and more bodies being recovered. It's going to put an additional pressure, and meaning that you need to work hard to recover those bodies as well.
I think the difference this time, unlike unrest last year, the July unrest, a lot of dead bodies were concentrated in certain areas where looting was taking place. So this time around, bodies are sitting in the residential areas, where people are buried underground in those muds. So we are getting calls, people walking to police stations, and they are telling us, please go and check at that place. We lost a family member, is buried underground. We send forces there to go and dig, and they find a dead body. So because of the vastness of the area, it makes it difficult even for mortuary and Department of Health to reach out. That's why we even are using our own resources to assist with this ferrying of these bodies to different parts. I mean, there are graves that have been washed off, and police must now go and attend to those grave issues as well. So there's quite a lot of work that needs to be done.
How many of your police stations have been converted to house those who have been displaced by the floods?
No. We're keeping our police stations as for safety purposes and for security. We're not using them as a safe place for the people that are. The municipalities are doing a lot of work, and they provided halls and many other facilities to keep people safe. Police stations, we've got a lot of sensitive equipment in the police stations, so we're not about to do that.
Thank you very much for time.
Thank you.
That is General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. He is the police commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal. He's telling us that, well, in terms of the numbers and casualties, it's not looking good. He says, if I were to quote him, he said live on air that it's not what the media is reporting. The number is higher than that, and that should worry many people in KwaZulu-Natal and in South Africa, because we have seen this before when there is flooding in KwaZulu-Natal. If I'm not mistaken, 2017 and 2019, we had the highest number of people who lost their lives to the floods in the province. So it's not looking good, but we'll be getting more updated statistics throughout the day. And I guess once the president arrives, he will be briefed, and then maybe he will be able to shed more light on the extent of the damage that has been caused by the floods in KwaZulu-Natal.
No, Spamandla, that statement by him is very concerning when he speaks of the fact that there are probably more bodies than we are reporting on. But then now it then begs the question, why would citizens then opt, in the midst of a devastation, opt to be looting in such a manner? Because clearly you're now diverting resources where the police really want to be on the ground responding to the situation, but then you've got others looting. But it seems they have it under control right now.
For now, yes, they have it under control, but it won't be for long, because if you deploy resources to deal with the natural disaster, as my colleague Bonga Mkhize is going to pen and show you more people here waiting for the arrival of President Cyril Ramaphosa outside the Pinetown Civic Center. This is the situation. Authorities, both from province and national, waiting for the president to arrive. Yes, the police will be overstretched at some point if looting continues. For now, they have it under control, and that is a good thing, because yesterday my colleague Lethuem Julie and Dazen Takia were reporting on people looting. And you ask yourself, why would people embark on such a very how can I put it? They are just being insensitive. People have lost their lives. We are in the middle of a disaster. But it has happened, during a pandemic, people were stealing, and the July unrest also. So the police are on high alert. The fact that the minister is here, General Pegicel, and the National Commissioner are here, they are worried about the situation in KwaZulu-Natal and how it will turn into anarchy and criminality, whereby people just loot in the midst of this tragedy. But for now, it's under control, as General Kwanazi was saying. For how long that will be, of course, it will depend on the deployment of their police officers and security personnel. He confirmed to eNCA that at least more than 300 personnel from the national government or National Department of Police will be coming down to KwaZulu-Natal to assist with rescue operations and any other form of help that is needed in the province. So the police themselves have asked and have been given more human and other resources to deal with this tragedy.
Spamandla, I'm noticing some sort of a position by officials here that every time you want to tackle the infrastructure conversation, particularly in the more impoverished communities, they don't want to get into it. They then give the example that you're also seeing buildings in affluent neighborhoods that have also gone down. So this is a natural disaster across the board. Many officials are not being drawn into that conversation around infrastructure. Even when you talk about the drainage systems, they don't want to be drawn into that and really want to confine themselves to this being a disaster.
I guess they don't want to open floodgates, if we can call it that, but deep down they do know that that conversation has to take place, as I'm keeping my eye on that front gate where President Cyril Ramaphosa will be arriving. They don't want to entertain that debate and discussion that much, simply because they know that deep down it's something that they have not dealt with properly. It has been raised before. Let's make an example about eThekwini, for instance. eThekwini has been prone to severe flooding, and there have been calls about the infrastructure. At some point, Mxolisi Kaunda, the mayor, during his previous term, he did concede that, yes, they have a challenge and it's something that they will work towards fixing in eThekwini. Even when it rains for a very short period of time in Durban, you will find that water will just be standing still, not moving. You don't need floods so that you can have that challenge. Even a normal rainy day in eThekwini causes some challenges for the city itself and its drainage system. But it's a debate and a discussion that they do not want to venture into. The Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, I wouldn't say being dismissive, but downplaying the magnitude of the challenge when it comes to the issue of the drainage system. If it's bad like this in eThekwini, imagine how it is in other far-flung areas, particularly rural areas, because many people make a mistake of thinking that KwaZulu-Natal is about eThekwini and Pietermaritzburg or Richards Bay. Yes, those are the economic hubs in the province. eThekwini is where the only metro is. If the only metro in the province doesn't have enough capacity and resources and its drainage system is not up to scratch to deal with this, yes, it's nature. There is nothing you can do about it. You cannot prevent rain from falling, but at least you can mitigate the impact in terms of flooding if your drainage system works properly. We are not engineers. We are not qualified to say it works or it doesn't work, but generally speaking, even engineers themselves and experts have said that there is a challenge in KwaZulu-Natal with infrastructure. Take, for instance, one of the most known towns that are prone to flooding. I'm talking about Ladysmith. Every time it rains in Ladysmith, you are about to have a challenge. And the issue of the drainage system has been raised. COGTA in the province has said that it's something that they will be assisting Alfred Duma municipality to deal with, but nothing much has happened. So every week when it rains in Ladysmith, you will have flooding or severe flooding. So that talks to the issue of the infrastructure itself. Yes, some of these towns and cities were designed many years ago without really proper planning. They were not catered to accommodate as many people as they do currently. But at the end of the day, it boils down to infrastructure maintenance, infrastructure repair to deal with this, because it's not going to get better. It will get worse moving forward, especially with the impact of climate change, which is severe and very visible.
Spamandla, I'm also interested to know as to whether the media will be allowed into the session now where Premier Sihle Zikalala will be briefing.
It will be a closed session. It will be the president, the premier, national minister responsible for COGTA, and the members of the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Executive Council, and other experts that are assisting and advising the provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal and the national government. So the media will not be allowed. But from here, the president will be visiting West Heat areas, including Claremont, Umlazi, if I'm not mistaken, as well as Hammersdale. But, these things do change now and again. The program of the president for security reasons changes any minute without any confirmation or prior notice. So it's safe to say he will be visiting some of the West Heat areas in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly the West. I'm talking about Pinetown, New Germany, Claremont, as well as Hammersdale. However, not to say other areas were not hit. If you talk about the eNCA area into Zuma, Inanda, Kwamashu, those were also hit. You go to the south, Umlazi was hit, Lamontville, and you go all the way down to Ubu district. So across the province of KwaZulu-Natal, there's devastation everywhere, but everyone is concentrating in eThekwini for now because according to the authorities, it's the hardest hit.
Are we expecting, though, beyond that closed session, at the very least, for the Premier or even the Mayor to address the media to just give us the figures as they stand currently?
They do not have a choice. They will have to address the people of KwaZulu-Natal and the people of South Africa. As much as this has happened in KwaZulu-Natal, but everywhere across the country, people are worried. It's a disaster. The entire province is affected. The president will have to say something and give the latest information and update because he would have been briefed and he can communicate that. And I think they are waiting for him to come to this meeting, telling that we have formally written to the national government and COGTA minister is here. Can you please concur and declare KwaZulu-Natal a disaster area? And I think you will have to concur and do that and announce that KwaZulu-Natal has been declared a disaster area and what kind of additional support the province will need financially and technical expertise and skills, particularly search and rescue, and also rebuilding the infrastructure of the province. The National Treasurer will have to come on board and release those emergency funds so that the province can at least be able to rebuild the damaged roads, bridges, and rebuild the economy, which will take hundreds of millions of rands, if I'm not mistaken, because the impact is so deep and severe that you can tell that there is destruction everywhere. So we will be trying to get a word from the President and the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Sihlezi Galala.
No, most certainly the devastation looks very, very deep. But Spamandla, just to take you back to the wetlands argument, we heard Sihlezi Galala there stating that some of the community members build in wetlands, but you challenged him. You went on to say it's because they're not allocated land. Just talk to me about this debate that's also now developing, unfolding in society, where many are saying it's as a result of not being allocated adequate land for them to build that they find themselves in this situation.
Not only land, but also if you deal with rural development, the concept of rural development, let's look at it this way. The scenario in eThekwini, many people who are affected by the floods, they are building in those low-lying areas next to the rivers because they leave their rural areas, come to eThekwini. It's the only biggest city in KwaZulu-Natal that has got a potential for employment. Others do go to Pietermaritzburg, Richards Bay, Port Shepstone and other smaller towns and cities. But many people in KwaZulu-Natal would want to come to eThekwini. That is why it's the hardest hit every time we've got flooding, because people grab whatever piece of land they get. Others would live in not so conducive areas. They will just build a shack there because they want to be closer to the only metro in the province. For employment and economic opportunities, really, it's not that deep. It's socio-economic challenges that the people are complaining about. They get closer to these big cities, find any piece of land, build there. When rain comes, then you will have this devastation. But if you've got land where people can build, and if you've got well-planned, proper housing schemes for people, but for you to be able to do that as government, you need to have plenty of land where you can build properly with proper infrastructure, where you will have the drainage system. There is no drainage system in many areas outside Durban. On the outskirts of Durban, if you go to many shack dwellings there are no infrastructure that is put in place because it's not designed to have people living there. Hence, if you've got a piece of land, you can build proper houses with well-maintained infrastructure. When such a disaster comes, at least you will not have the severe impact that you are witnessing now. So that debate about land and people and the issue of housing will continue every time there is a natural disaster, and the authorities will blame people to not build there. The question they ask, where can we build? Give us land, we are willing to build on our own, but we don't have land. Avail land, we will build in conducive environments.
No, certainly hoping that in as much as they'll respond to this disaster, they will have some sort of a multi-pronged approach and also deal with the urbanization issue that you so carefully outlined there, that these people are migrating from the rural areas because there is no economic activity. So clearly the mayors and the municipalities will have to deal with somehow stimulating the economy there so that they don't have to migrate to the city where now they're staying in some of these places. Because like you say, they can be allocated land, but if there is no economic activity, you'll still abandon that place where you've been allocated land and go where the economy or there's a very healthy investment climate.
Absolutely, and it's the question of survival. What do? Do you remain in an underdeveloped area, or you try to move to one of the biggest cities where you can at least try to find opportunities? Some people are here just to start small to medium businesses. Others are looking for employment. So it's not as simple as just saying, okay, we will develop eThekwini. eThekwini is well developed. It's got all the infrastructure and the resources, but people are coming from all over KwaZulu-Natal. It's like in Gauteng, it's like in Johannesburg. Many people will leave the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and go to Johannesburg to look for greener pastures, because that's where the economic activity is, and that's where there is potential for them at least to get a job, to start a business, and to access all government-related opportunities. And that's what is happening in KwaZulu-Natal. So if you deal with the issue of socio-economic challenges, when natural disaster strikes, at least there will not be so much devastation and impact, because many people will stay where they are if their areas are developed. Imagine if roads are being washed away in eThekwini, which is the most well-resourced region and district in KwaZulu-Natal. How about Umzinyathi district, which is very far and deep rural? If police are struggling to reach certain areas on foot in Durban, how about Ilembe district? How about Ugu district? How about Umgungundlovu, which doesn't have enough infrastructure? So that tells you that up until you develop the entire province holistically and the entire country, you will continue to have the issue of people going to big cities looking for job opportunities, business opportunities, even study opportunities, because many universities are located in Durban and very few are outside. And so if people, students and people are looking for jobs, study opportunities as well as business opportunities, flock into big cities, when disaster strikes, you will have this severe impact. So it's a question of land, avail land for people to build their own houses, build a well-structured housing scheme and units for people with infrastructure, but most importantly, deal with the issue of rural development so that people will not flock into big cities.
And then just for clarity's Pamandla, we don't expect rainfall for the rest of the week, am I correct?
I am not sure, because according to the South African Weather Services, the Easter weekend, there is going to be some rain in KwaZulu-Natal, and that is a concern for authorities, because if you look at it, today is Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. They are busy with the mop-up operations, and that is set to take a number of days, even weeks. So if rain comes back, that will be devastating in a sense that it will be a setback for those clean-up and mop-up operations. So we do expect some rain leading up to the weekend. The Weather Services has said that during the Easter weekend there should be some rain, and authorities are concerned about that. Hence, they will be trying to speed up these clean-up and mop-up operations so that at least when the rain comes, they would have done the bigger amount of work in terms of rescue operations, clean-up operations. At least there are areas that are still inaccessible as we speak. They have not been able to clear the roads that have just been, blockaded by stones and by rocks and by sand and mud. So, and they are trying very hard to deal with that for now. If the rain comes back, that will be a setback. But we do not expect that at least heavy rains will come back. Maybe just not so much of heavy rains, but there is some rain expected towards the end of the week.
Now, Pamanda, as we continue to monitor developments there where the president is expected to arrive, we're also monitoring developments around ESCOM because they're expected to give a briefing. Insofar as power is concerned there, which areas remain in the dark? Have they managed to restore electricity to other areas?
Most of the areas are still disconnected. It's electricity and water, the water infrastructure, the pipes burst, and electricity poles and lines were destroyed and damaged. So many areas in and around eThekwini and across KwaZulu-Natal. On the south, talk about areas like Amanzimtoti, areas such as Bluff. There were reports that people were still disconnected there, but others yesterday night they were able to be reconnected. But it's a struggle, it's a mission to ensure that everyone is connected, because the amount of work that is needed to bring back the infrastructure is so severe that it will take at least a number of days. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the municipality has said that it will take a couple of days for some areas to be reconnected. So many people are still without water and electricity. Cell phone networks are still down in some areas because there is no connection. And it doesn't help that on top of that we have load shedding, a very terrible way to continue with this cleanup and mop-up operation, because if you try to restore electricity in those areas and load shedding hits. So yeah, it is what it is.
All right, Pamanda, we'll leave it there for now. We'll catch up with you a bit later when the